Manus.
I love that music.
Why do you never give me a countdown? I'm always trying to pull us up on the thing. My head's way close to camera. You can see all of my pores and my bald head. Why do you always start that way?
You know, well,
Gosh,
welcome to live theater.
killing me here. You're killing me.
I am killing you. Hey, RJ,
I'm trying to
welcome
pull it.
to. Go ahead.
Thanks, Bubby. I'm trying to pull up the show. So there it is. Got it.
I'm
Okay,
Bobby.
we're live now.
Of course we're live. That's why I was popping and locking.
Oh,
Welcome
is
to
that what that was for?
Talking Books. Am I got the whole thing here? Yeah, Talking Books. Of course, bottom of the our screen, you can see that you can see all kinds of wonderful Amazon stuff that we have, and our author today. We're very excited, and you will see some of those awesome covers that you can check out. How's your day going, RJ?
My day is going much better than your improvising is going. Let's put it that way.
I'm good.
Um, you need just you. We did all this beautiful work getting our guests set up and me set up, but you need a little more light on you, my friend.
You
You're a
know what? I can't
little
believe it.
dark.
It's not about me. It's not about
It's
me.
all about you. It's always about you. I've
Not
been your
about
friend for
me.
38 years. It's always about you.
Well, you got to leave out 2 years.
Uh, because it's only been 38. Because if it was 40 years, we would have met when I was 11, and that is not the case.
That's
So
wrong.
yeah.
Wrong. Okay.
Uh, as Will said, welcome to Talking Books live. That is the pause for reflection that we give you at every show. The way this show came about is Will and I are advertisers. What are you doing? Are you singing?
We're
Will and
influencers.
advertisers. Will and I are avid readers, is what meant to come out of my mouth at that point.
We're
And we were sitting here discussing.
advertisers. We're
Yeah, we're
advertisers.
advertisers. We're avid readers, and we were discussing it one day about because I just bought books off of Amazon. I regularly buy books. I'm actually doing a lot of Kindle books now, but also a lot of the audio books that they have available. And I really wanted to develop a program that let us talk to authors because you only get information if you read their dust covers. And most of those dust covers are written by publicists or they're very rarely written by the author. And you don't get a true sense of who the author is and how they got their start and what made them write what they write and why they do what they do and what their passion is. And I
Yeah.
said, hey, we've got this platform on Amazon Live, and they've been very gracious to us throughout this
Yeah.
entire process. Let's see if we can bring some of those Amazon authors who are already on Amazon and talk to them live about the books that they have here. And that's what begat Talking Books Live. And welcome to it. It is a wonderful day to be alive. It's a glorious day here in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. It's about
Oh,
85 degrees, which means that tomorrow will be 107. So
yeah.
that's how the weather works here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Somebody once described to me the best way to describe Vegas is it's like opening the oven to check on cookies, except there's no cookies.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Can I ask you a
Being a
favor?
fat guy, yeah, you can ask me anything you want.
Can you sit up? Because
Why?
I want to be on your same level.
Oh, well, then I have to back up because
Over
I have
like,
a whole new arrangement here. I look at how far back I can go now. Look at how far back I can go. Look at how far back I can go now.
oh,
I am so far.
can you reach that book up there? The Bahaga, what is that? Right up there, Bahaga Gita? No, that you're really
It's
going back
way
far.
that's way back there. That's
Yeah,
that one there.
yeah. You're
Yeah,
gonna have to get your
I could
ladder.
get it, but it's about 4 feet behind me.
Yeah. What's up with the moose in the middle of it? Anyway, welcome to Talking Books. Little did our guests know that we would be flying this way and having this much fun. So, what do you think about bringing them on?
I
Nah.
think that would be a grand. No, let's just talk you and I. Let's just forget talking books. Let's just two old fat white guys talking. Let's just call it that show. How's that?
Where's the other fat
Oh,
guy?
oh, I'm sorry. Your camera angle is way off today. There you go. Much better, much better. I can't believe we both decided to wear a plaid.
What
We should
the
have called
hell?
each other before we came on. It's
This
the
is like
worst.
an old
I'm
married couple.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just horrible. I'm actually
I
going
took
after
this
we
hard
finish
class.
this today. I after I'm going to the Fat Man store today to pick up some accoutrement for tomorrow. Um,
What's tomorrow?
I just used a
Oh,
big
you're
fancy word.
getting married.
Shh, you can't say it. It's secret. We have
No,
to edit that
can't
out.
say it anymore. All right, our guest, welcome to the show. Wait a second.
No,
We're
wait, I didn't
Hello.
give the proper introduction. And
no.
look at the bottom. Look at the frame. It's all wrong. I see him under there.
What the hell?
I know. Ladies and gentlemen, our author today is, you've heard him giggling in the background, and it's been a delight because
White,
our past authors really haven't been giggling much.
white the gig.
They've been really scared to be here and be interviewed. And our next guest, or our guest that you see now, obviously is well prepared and ready to play with us. Please welcome to the center square, Christopher Lee Manus.
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 Hello.
Manus.
Manus.
Like
Yes,
Canis. Manus.
Manus.
Got it.
Tomato.
Manus. Got it.
Yes.
Tomato. Tomato. Let's call it off. All right.
Christopher, how the heck are you, brother?
I am doing well. How are you, RJ?
Fantastic. Now, since I gave you the traffic and weather
Why
here for
you ask
Vegas,
me?
what's the weather like in Louisiana right now?
Well, in Louisiana, it's always hot.
Yes, indeed,
And
and
today I'm
muggy.
actually in Dallas, and it's just as hot.
Oh, wait.
What are you doing in Big D?
A big D.
Well, I live in Dallas, and I have a home in Louisiana.
Oh, sure, rub it in.
Right, because I read from your bio that you are an instructor, professor, adjunct person, something or other at LSU. Am I not mistaken?
Yes. So I teach actually at Richland campus, a part of Dallas College. I teach history,
Wow.
and
What
and
is-
I teach wherever else I'm needed. I teach anything.
I hear you, brother.
But just out of curiosity, Christopher, what history do you teach?
I teach U.S. history from pre-Columbian to the Civil War, and then I also teach the Civil War to present.
Oh, wow.
So I've done that.
But don't you
for
teach pre-Columbian to present? 14 years,
Huh?
but you're only like 28 years old.
No, I'm older than 28.
Okay, just checking. Well, it's such a pleasure. I love it. I love that you're giggling, and I'm just trying to say stuff to make you laugh now because it's hilarious to me.
That's the whole show.
Let's talk books, shall we? That's why we have you on here. Normally we would start talking about your book, but we're not, because we're going to put that off a little bit because I want to find about it. My big thing here is to find out about the authors and find out about their drives and their passions and what makes them tick, what makes them do what they do. And Christopher, this is your point. This is your place in time in history, if you will, to tell everybody something about yourself that may not be on a dust cover, may not be on the back of a book, that really you want people to know about. This is it. Tell us your passions. Tell us why you do what you do.
RJ is trying to get the scandal part out of you.
Oh no!
The scandal.
We don't want dish. We just want honesty. This is all about honesty. This is what the readers ought to know. The readers should know more about their authors.
By the way,
and
stuff at the bottom.
yeah.
We have stuff at the bottom you can buy from this author.
Oh,
Please
speaking of
tell
the
us-
bottom, that thing's still not right there, Will. The frame. Yeah. Just hit down one more time. If you haven't noticed, Christopher, I am a Virgo, and I'm very, very particular about how things should look. So I have figured that
Oh,
out.
that's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're much more.
Anyway,
Because from my end, it's wonderful.
perfect. Speaking of your end, tell us all about you.
Whoa. Wow. You went there.
So, what drives me and moves me is really just, I've been in education for many years. And so I think from my books to what I do just every day, I think in terms of books, I write books, I edit books. And that has pretty much been my thought for, I think since I was 5, I remember when I was 5, I used to write these stories that I would illustrate, and I happen to still have one that I keep in a folder. And I will be honest with you, I've looked at it and I have no idea what it actually means because it's all scribble.
But here's
But
the
I'm
thing,
sure
publish
there's
it.
something I had to say that was really important at 5.
Of course. And if you published it today, someone would buy it and go and know exactly what it means.
Yeah.
And that's the
Make a
scary
movie
Right.
part.
I know exactly what it means.
and make a movie out of it. Definitely make a movie.
Right. And so, you know, I really write, and particularly used to write because I tend to be a very shy person, and
No.
I'm the type
No.
of person.
I'm sorry.
Right. I know.
I think they're having a problem with the internet. You're a what? Okay,
A
sorry.
shy
A
person?
shy person.
You're as shy as I am skinny, okay? So let's just get past that hump right
Well,
there.
I can hopefully fake it.
There you go. I learned that from my ex-wife, so yeah, we're good. I understand you.
Oh, that's. I'm gonna let him go full screen on that. All right.
So because I'm a shy person, to have to write my thoughts out first before I speak on anything. And so, you know, we'll talk about my particular book later, but before that, what got me interested in writing was really just in order to communicate, especially once I got to college. I found that I had to write in order to then go to a class and be able to speak about a subject or speak even to a professor, because that still scares me, and I'm a professor. So
Wow.
nothing scarier
Absolutely.
than having to talk to a professor.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at our live, and one of the questions I'm getting from our stuff. So I'm interested in the book. Well, I'm interested in why you call rock, sweat, scissors. It's cut off, but I can't. What is that like? Paper, scissors, rocks?
Yeah, so it was a play off of that. And that was a book that I did in 20. I wrote it in 2013, and then I did a new edition in 2015. And that book was a self-published book through Amazon, actually. And that was one of the first books that I did after I completed my doctoral studies and earned my doctorate. So that was one of the first books I did that wasn't an assignment. I did it just because I had time to do it.
Right, right.
Are you saying that we should refer to you as doctor from here on out? Is that what that was a little hint for?
No, that's fine.
Okay. We will though. We will. If you want us to do
It's fine.
Dr. Manus, we will.
But
We will refer to you as Dr.
No.
Manus.
doctor in what? Doctor in what?
It was in English, particular literature and American poetry and Holocaust studies and LGBT studies. So that was
That's
my
fantastic.
areas.
That is great.
Yeah, and my dissertation was on African refugees living here in Dallas, actually.
Wow.
And so what I did was I worked on that for 3 or so years. And then in 2011, I got my doctorate, and I started working on what would become Rock, Sweat, Scissors. And particular book deals with sexual abuse. And so that book was written really in part because someone I knew, I had learned just information about and their backstory. And so again, how I process something is to write on it. And so I was writing it and then eventually decided to publish it. And I was really fortunate with that book because the poet Stephen Rains, who is the West Hollywood poet laureate,
Okay.
and I can't honestly remember how it went. I think I might have reached out to him first, but at one point he answered my emails and he responded and he read a version of the book. And so he did the introduction that became the
Oh, wow.
second edition in 2015.
That's great.
That's
Well,
fantastic.
2015, I have to say that, you are pretty ahead of the curve here in regards to the LGBT and the issues that we're having now, or I should say not issues, but the fact of the subject that is now very prevalent in our society, which is great. How has the response been?
Oh, it's been well. Yes. It was very good. To that book, yes.
Good, good.
And what's interesting is that I get every now and then I will get a message from a reader who has read it, and they're like, "Oh, well, thank you for saying that," or I felt that, but it didn't. I never thought about expressing it in quite that way,
Right.
and so I'm extremely fortunate in that regard to help in that way that I can.
And isn't that why we do what we do? We do what we do to touch people um, emotionally, and make them feel, no matter what they feel. As long I've always had a thing while being on stage is that I just want you to feel something. I don't care what it is, just feel
Right,
something, you know? And I think it's
right,
amazing that authors like yourself are able to write so prolifically that you are able to touch one person. And all you have to do is touch one person to make a difference.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're doing that with on multiple avenues, because your first book, which was published in the second publication in second republishing in 2015, is quite a departure from your second book. But yet they both hold very
right.
personal. They both have very personal relationships with you.
Yes, they do. And I should say that the first book, The Rock Sweat Scissors, is not in any way autobiographical, but
Right.
it is true what you say, that we want people to just connect with us and to feel anything, because if they're feeling whatever, then they're at least making that human connection.
Right.
They're at least for that moment understanding in some way. And
It's
so that
all about
is, I agree.
yeah. It's all about that emotional investment. You have it with your writing.
Yes.
Will and I have it with the emotional investment on stage. If the audience or if the reader is or if the viewer is not emotionally invested with what you're doing, then why do it? Why even put it out there?
You
Let
know,
them be invested. Let them feel. Let them want. Let them hunger. Let them ache. Let them pain. Let them cry. Let them laugh. Let them be emotionally invested. And uh, so many we have a through this program we run through a passel of authors that range in everything from writing children's books around healthy eating, to writing children's books about rescue dogs, to writing romance novels, to writing self-help books.
right.
And I think the core for that is the emotional investment that you have with your reader. And I think you do that with quite a plum, and I respect you for that, and I applaud you for that. So
But let me
Oh,
just add
thank you.
you're welcome.
into that and say that we're, as an author, you're a translator as well, and you allow people that are potentially thinking, only thinking, and not verbalizing or living in their life, to read what you write and go, he or she is right. And again, I bring up the fact that the subjects that you're writing about are things that are have many people have been stifled from expressing, and now it's coming to a point where people can verbally, not just an author, get out and say, I feel this way, and thank you for validating my life the way I live it. So I think that's kind of cool.
Right. Well, and I had a lot of inspiration growing up. My parents did multiple things, but one of them, my mother was an advocate for survivors of child abuse, and she probably spoke to groups in the early 80s. That's when I remember it, at least. It probably happened before then, but that's when I was involved in it. And, I can remember her speaking to women or children who had gone through what she experienced. And there was an honesty in what she would say, because she if you know my mother, she is very upfront with her past, and she'll tell you anything and everything you want to know or didn't want to know. And so what she would do is she would give these talks and speak to these organizations or to these women and these children. And she could say what happened to her. She could say how she overcame. She could say how she didn't overcome. She could discuss her successes, her failures. But in her doing that, she would tell the truth. And I think that's what literature, that's what poetry does, like tell the truth. And
Absolutely.
you do have to feel it because someone else has felt it, but they may not be in a position to say it.
Absolutely. And that is a perfect way to take us into our first break. We're going to take a very short break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to you about your most recent publication. This is something I really want to get into. So I want to take a little bit of break and we'll hop back in. But if you are interested in the first book we talked about, which was, give us the name of that
Rock,
book.
Sweat, Scissors.
Rock, Sweat, Scissors. You'll know it because it has a gentleman on the front. It's very visual. You'll be able to see that. That's down below if you'd like to take a look at that book. And we also have this other book that we're going to be talking about shortly. But we will be right back with Talk About Lives with author Christopher Lee Maness. Maness. I'm not saying it right. Maness.
Trust me, you're saying it fine.
We're back. I caught you scratching.
Why did you? I hate you.
Scratching.
I hate you. I'm rocking out to the music. I'm scratching, and you bring it on. You are just a horrible human being.
You know what? I have to tell you, I'm getting really good at the switches.
Yeah.
Because I literally went to a one shot of our wonderful guest, and you were picking up your cup to drink, and I'm like, that.
Yeah.
Oh,
See.
Your
Yes. Welcome back to Talking Books Live, ladies and gentlemen. On this glorious day, we have a fantastic author, Christopher Lee Maness, who is with us today, and we are talking books with him. Once again, Talking Books Live, where you get to hear right from your horse's mouth, or the author's mouth, as it were, exactly what feeds them, exactly what their passion is, and why they write what they write. And if you're on here in our live and you have any questions, please do not hesitate to tap them down the chat. We got a bunch of questions coming through. We'd love to see them. But let's bring back our guest, Will, shall we?
Shall we?
If you would, Mr. Christopher Lee Maness, one more time. Christopher, welcome back. How the heck are you?
I am doing well.
Did you get up and go pee during the break?
No, I didn't.
Oh, see, that's why I took a break, because I had to get up and go pee. So, yeah. That's the best thing when I can control when I get to have my potty breaks. It's like perfect. It just, yeah. So let's get into your current book, which is, the title alone is one of those titles you go, wait, what? And then it makes you want to pick it up and read it. But then you read the dust cover and you're like, wait, what? This poetry is based on his family's experience. It's definitely, it instills the being of a page turner before you even turn a
Yeah.
page. So
Yeah.
let's talk about it. The book is called Naming the Leper, and it's a series of poetry written about your family's history, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us
And
all
it's
about it.
written about my father's family.
Okay.
My father's family, his grandfather, my great grandfather, was diagnosed with what was then called leprosy. It is now called Hansen's disease. And he and all of his siblings were diagnosed with leprosy. And they were each diagnosed at different times. And the first three siblings were actually in the leprosarium in Louisiana at different times. They were there alone. The last two entered together, and we can talk about that later. But yes, they were all diagnosed with leprosy. And per public health policy at that time, if you received a diagnosis of leprosy, you had to admit yourself to the leprosarium in Carville, Louisiana. And and if you didn't, you they basically armed guards to get you, and they would bring you. So my great grandfather, for instance, and my his youngest brother Norbert, um, were actually taken by armed guard, um, and the other siblings had a slightly different story. But yes.
That's tragically amazing. I don't have another way of putting that. Will, I'm getting
And
some audio
it's
feedback. I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out what that is.
And I don't know why that is. You are getting feedback. I'm not really sure, but I love hearing you more than once at a time. So we're good.
Well, thank you. And again, back to the tragically, it's
Christopher, move over just a teeny bit. Keep yourself in the center. We can't. We
to
love
your right. There you go.
yes,
love
there I
And
having.
not enough people are. I'm sure today, not enough people are familiar with Hansen's disease, or as when I grew up as a kid, it was still called leprosy.
Leprosy. Yes.
Um, I know that I have in my family, I have family members that were missionaries. This is I'm not even sure what generation of my family was, who were missionaries in Hawaii and were actually sent to Molokai.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so I have history of my family with that. Tell us about why, not why. Why is not the right answer. How you decided that your family's legacy, for lack of a better word, would lend itself to poetry rather than story or nonfiction.
right. Well, that's actually, that kind of links back to what we were discussing earlier, in that, I had mentioned that I write to express myself.
Mm-hmm.
And in my father's family, unlike in my mother's family, they do not necessarily talk, or at least for some time did not talk about this particular part of their history. So I knew bits and pieces of it, and I'd hear from my grandmother one thing, I'd hear from my mother something else, and other relatives kind of here and there would would mention in rumor, so to speak, did you hear this, or this? And so part of what drove me to write this particular book was really just linking some of those things together. How I chose it as poetry is really, that's how I think. If I thought in terms of fiction, I would have written it in fiction. But poetry is kind of like writing a language, and so when I write, it's just what comes natural. And the other reason I think I chose poetry too is because in reading their work, um, in reading their letters, while their letters are written, as anyone would write letters, more prose style, um, there were lines in there that I remember reading saying, wow, that is poetic. Like that might be only one line, but that's deep, or I would have never thought to say something like that. And how I started the book, because the book has two separate genesis. So it initially was a master's thesis.
Okay.
And when I was in school writing during my bachelor's and master's at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, I was reading their letters, and I was 18, 19, 20 at the time. And I had to write an essay in school. And I remember writing the essay in school. In fact, I did eventually publish it. But I remember thinking, what's important here is nothing that I can actually put in the essay. Because if you're writing a history essay, you typically have to do it a certain way. And so I remember thinking, there has to be a different way of saying this, that it's more human.
Right. And history essays are not known for their history essays are not known for their personality.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, Christopher. Just let me know if this is possibly true. But did you also consider writing it in a poetic way because of the subject matter? And I mean that in the sense that if you're at a bookstore, you're seeing something on New York bestsellers and so on, you listen, you look and you go, "This is a story about the Holocaust." You're like, "Oh, that's deep. I don't know if I want to read that." But by putting it into a poetic or into a poem or a poetry type of format, people might look at it and go, "Oh, well, I'm interested to see the take and how it's elaborated creatively." Is there any sort of thought process that might have been true too on this?
I think so. I think, uh, poetry can be shorter, so it can be more accessible in the sense that, I've taught long enough to know if you tell students to read a book, they don't always read the book.
Right.
Right.
But with poetry, you have the advantage of the poem itself is short.
Yeah.
These are not made up of necessarily long, and so clearly, as the writer, I would hope someone reads all of it. But even if you just read a line or a stanza or part of it, the hope is that no matter where you are, you not only understand what's being said in that line, but that their voice, the document of their life comes out.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, I do
and
think that had something to do with it.
of course, I'm going to put you on the spot because it's my show and I can. I know that
Okay.
within your arm's reach, there's probably a copy of your book. Am I correct?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Well, how did I know that?
Now
I would like
I have to
you
try to get it in the frame right, but yes, there it
exactly.
is.
Who
It is
did the
called Naming the Leper. It is available down below on the scroller. I would like you, and you probably have it memorized, but if you need to open the book, you can. Read me, read us, read our listeners, read our viewers. Maybe not your favorite, but read us one of the poems that you think we should hear. How's that?
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
And since you said, because when you first asked, I was going to read you one other one, but since you said not necessarily my favorite, then I'll read a different one.
All
Well,
right.
it all comes
So,
down to wearing our hearts on our sleeves, right?
Do you need any background
yes.
music? You need any
No,
background?
no, he does not need background music. Please do not DJ this.
All
This
right.
would be
So,
horrible if you DJ'd it.
So, dear folks, I don't know myself. In here, they don't use names. On any given day, I can be called Cicero, Albert, or James Jackson. I wish you could see me. I've changed. I've grown a mustache and wear a derby, and I've tanned. It's all about getting in the dirt and sweating the sickness out. Every time I do, I feel like a new man. And that poem was actually written using several documents, but my uncle Norbert was known as Cicero, Albert, or James Jackson. So that line comes from some of his letters. But then part of the poem also comes from my uncle Norbert entered the leprosarium in 1919 and 24. His brother Edmond, my great grandfather, entered the leprosarium after Norbert's death. And one of his letters is very haunting to me, at least, because he once again says how lonely he is. He once again says how he doesn't really, he might not use the exact words that Norbert did in terms of, not knowing myself, but he basically says those same things. And so that particular poem pieces together those two documents, the letters
What I
from
love,
Norbert as
yeah,
on.
I will
what I
say
love about that. Oh, go ahead, Will.
what I love, taking RJ's words, but what I love about it really is that just in a few of the words and phrases, you get that early 1900s, the Derby, the way that you've crafted the language. I have to tell you that I know you grabbed some of it from the letters, but the way you put it together, I kind of almost touch, feel, smell the situation, and I commend you because I love that, and being able to read something. It's almost the history teacher in you that you brought us back to that period of time.
Well, thank you, because that was the goal with this version. Yes.
I I I agree with that wholeheartedly because I'm all about painting a picture with words.
Yeah,
I listen to old time radio for the express purpose that I don't want to watch television,
me
but
too.
I want the speaker to create the environment for me. And you've created that environment. But moreover, that poem transcends your family's strife because if you take just the words, you can take those words and apply them to any human being walking the face of the planet today.
Yeah.
And whatever
Right.
the sickness is, or the imposed sickness, or the what have you and all of the emotion that is packed into that beautiful little stanza is readily available to every single human being that's walking the planet in some respect. And I think that's beautiful. It's not just about your family, but someone can interpret it however they want to interpret it. And that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Right.
Christopher Manis, we really appreciate you coming on the show. And by the way, on the bottom of the screen, you can see here on Amazon Live that you can pick up his books and some other stuff if you're interested. We're here to kind of really facilitate what we did. And by the way, we kind of do that. RJ and myself kind of do this just sort of to be able to put a little depth in our life and our Amazon Live. By the way, I think the only thing that we're missing is next time we have you on, because we will have you on, we're really making it mandatory that you wear a plaid shirt. So we go.
Yes.
Well, I wish I was going to actually say, because I saw the pre-show talk, that I wish I had been told to wear plaid because I wouldn't have worn this hot sweater that I did the test in. It was really comfortable 3 weeks ago in the cold, but
Right.
now I won't lie, it's extremely hot.
I
It's
bet.
itchy. It's itchy. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Christopher, it was such a treat to have you on, and
It
I
was.
wish you all the successes that you deserve, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, you're awesome.
And I'm going to put you on the spot again because it's what I like to do. Leave our viewers with a thought of the day.
Pearl
Just
wisdom.
leave them with just a thought of the day, something that you're thinking about or you want them to think about.
Read.
Read.
Read, because that's how you connect to people, that's how you express yourself. everything we've talked about today, just read. I don't care what you read, read.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, our wonderful offer today, Christopher Lee Manus. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to many more works from you in the future.
We're gonna
Thank you, RJ, and thanks, Will.
all right. We're gonna take a
You're
small break.
welcome. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, we're gonna go
You
into
too.
Liz Lawless, and our Posse publisher. So hang tight right after this.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Will Robertson, of course. You are here talking books, and back from our break. But I wanted to also bring into the fold here our good friend Liz Lawless. She is the publishing posse, and all that wonderful stuff. Your pearls of wisdom. I'm giving you a moment now to get your book and any kind of writing utensils because you should take notes. By the way, at the bottom of the screen, you can see that we have products because you are on Amazon Live. And with that being said, you can pick and choose the things you want. And also, you can check through our stuff to see if there's anything else you want. We got book lights, we got all kinds of stuff. But more importantly, you can see the authors that we're talking about today. Author, and that's a lot of fun. So, with that being said, I'm going to go back to my good friend Liz, and we're going to bring her up just like that. Liz Lawless, of course. I call you the publishing posse, but what is your what's a company name again? It's a Catalyst. Catalyst.
Right, Book Catalyst Publishing.
Yeah.
So, and most of my stuff is Book Catalyst on social media. So, if somebody's looking to follow, they can either do author Liz Lawless or Liz Lawless Book Catalyst. Because a
You've been
catalyst
doing
makes
this.
things happen. Okay,
Yeah,
a
it
catalyst
does.
when combined with other things makes something happen.
Yeah, let
So
me
that's
see if I
why.
have it right though. The word catalyst, isn't that like an in between, the person that kind of makes, like if you have you have several different groups and you're a catalyst to be able to bring them all together. Is that a good way
Right.
of yeah,
That's a way. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's
that's
when
the
one element begins, it gets put with another element and creates something new.
that is the
Yeah.
extent of my vocabulary, and not but not true at all. Lives Lawless. Today we're having a great time with our authors, and really, I think people should know that you're kind of our producer, our show booker,
Right.
other person, and this
Yeah,
kind
it's
of really
exciting to talk to all the different authors. Yeah, it's
yeah
really exciting to talk to the different authors to see what people are doing, why they're doing, how they're doing, and and everybody's kind of different, and that's okay.
yeah
We talk a lot about imposter syndrome and trying to be like somebody else, but today you don't need to do that.
no
Today it really is about authenticity and people wanting to talk to somebody who's real, somebody that's been there, somebody that's experienced it,
yeah
like you said, so we can shorten the curve. I mean, we all have too much to do and not enough
and the
time.
money chain because the
Right.
fact is that
Yeah.
look, if I could wake up, as much as I'm going to make a statement, as much as, and I know you probably agree with this on your side, as much as I love the game, I really do. And as
Yeah.
much as you and I have been doing this for 100 years, you've fared well better than me. But in the 100 years of me doing this, I wish I could wake up one day and press a button and go, I'm there. But you know
Right.
as well as I do that when you really get into this and you are facilitating your passion and you start putting the pieces together, although the pieces change all the time in this puzzle,
Right.
that's part of it. It's kind of like being a professional actor. I talk
Yeah.
about all the time saying people go, "Oh, it must be fun to do this," and I go, "It's actually kind of more fun sometimes the rehearsal process." Same thing with
Right.
books. You've got a point. I'm sorry. You're on. You've given us seven. You've got seven
Yeah,
different things you're giving us. You're on point
right.
number
Number 4. So we're
four.
talking about number 4 today. So this is the 7 steps to quickly get into the writing process or your writing project to get it started. Because that's what people have a problem with sometimes,
I got my
is
pen.
just getting started. So it's all about, the first 3 steps were kind of all about procrastination and because we make a lot of excuses, and you and
Yeah.
I talked about that. But the first one is creating that sacred space, a place where you can write, whether it's your kitchen table, your bedroom, or wherever it is. Whether
Wherever.
you write longhand in a journal or on your computer, or on your iPad, or on your phone, it doesn't matter. But find
Yeah.
that place where you can say, this is my writing place.
Mhm.
The second tip was to keep all your materials together, because most of us have to interact with other people. And especially right now with COVID-19,
Yeah.
we're all home together. So we've got kids, we've got spouses, we've got significant others. We may have other family members who just happen to can't go back to wherever they need to go to
No.
because of all the craziness that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So put your materials in a box, a bag, a book bag, something, and then take them out and put them up at the end of your session. Then we talked about the third thing, which was committing to some time yesterday, and it doesn't matter if it's 15 minutes, 2 hours, 4 hours, or half a day, or a whole weekend, whatever you can do that, because your brain gets used to that. Your
Mhm.
brain gets used to, this is
The
the
routine.
space. When you
Sure.
come to that space, you're supposed to write. Hopefully you get to that space sooner. You write faster. It becomes easier.
Yeah.
It's going to be uncomfortable at first. You're going to be
Right.
going, I don't think this
Yeah.
is working for me. But you can't do it like 1 or 2 days and say this doesn't work.
No.
What you've got to do is you got to stay with it a week or a couple weeks.
Stick with it.
And after a couple of weeks, you'll get into that rhythm of writing, because you and I talked about. So
Yeah.
today's tip, number
But wait,
4.
before you do today's
Uh,
tip, I want to say something on number three that I think is really important, that I think will help people a little bit more. And that is
uh,
that you need to, it's kind of like goal setting. You let other people know what you're doing, your family members, and say, look, I'm really
right,
devoted to trying to do this. I love you. I want to be able to be with you, but part of me needs to be able to facilitate this passion that I have
right,
to do that. Number one, I believe, and I believe you believe this, that when you make that commitment to yourself and other people know that you're going to take that time, it really, in essence, sort of like it helps put depth to what you're doing. It also
right,
makes it okay. You don't have to sneak around going, well, where are you going? Well, I got something. If you can't commit
right,
to saying that you are this, then you're not
right.
this. So with that being said,
Yeah,
I think number three is a good little extra step, is that let people know that you're writing a book.
right.
People
Exactly. And that
worry.
it's
Yeah,
important to you and it's a priority. And yeah, for exactly right. Because then they will respect you more, and they'll respect it
respect.
too. And that time, and they'll understand. And then you're also, if you've got kids, you're teaching them.
Hmm.
You're teaching them to you're supporting them in the process of them understanding that what they love or what they dream about or what they want to accomplish takes
Discipline.
commitment and time and energy and discipline, but
Yeah,
it's important.
yeah,
So I think that's a good teaching tool as well, especially if you have others. And it can be a spouse,
yeah.
or it can be a significant other,
Tell
boyfriend,
your
girlfriend. It
dog.
doesn't have to just be kids.
Tell your dog. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
that's right.
Tell it. Look in. You know what? Here's another thing. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you're going to do that, because
Tell yourself.
the biggest problem we all have is being able to commit to that. Okay, moving on. Number
Right.
four.
Okay. Number 4. So we're talking about writing about what you know. And the reason you want to write about what you know is because you may be with this for a while. It may take you a year. It may be 2 or 3 years that you're committed to this. So, you don't want to write about something that you don't enjoy, or that you
Yeah.
don't like, or that you don't know anything about. I mean,
Unless
I'm
you're
not
getting
saying you
paid.
can't go and, yeah, I'm not saying you can't go and research a subject and maybe learn about it. I'm not saying you can't go and interview other people. Those are some of the writing processes, writing styles, things you can do we have 5 ways usually that people write, and those will be some of the things we'll talk about in a few weeks.
Right.
But if you write about something, you just get your journal, your notebook, your iPad, whatever it is, and start writing. It might be an experience. You and I
Yeah.
talked about, I come from a journalism background, so I
Yeah.
can do the who, what, when, where, and how. But maybe you just want to share an experience that you had. Maybe it was a experience around health or finances or relationships. It doesn't matter what it is. Just start telling those experiences and getting them on paper or
Yeah.
getting them on the computer.
Yeah.
And once you do that, then you're going to brainstorm some titles, because that's the second thing. That's the other thing that keeps people from starting. Imagine that. Just because they don't have a title,
I don't.
they don't write.
Yeah.
So sit
That's a really
down,
good point.
brainstorm 10, 20 titles.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's a really good point because when you think about something like let's say you're trying to figure out a birthday theme or you're doing something, the minute you put the theme to the what you're doing, you kind of go, we're ready. Or even a dinner party. I mean, it sounds silly, but my
Right.
wife and my
Yeah.
mother-in-law will say, we're going to do a, Cinco de Mayo. And we're like,
Right.
oh, we could do this and we could do that. Your brain does that, what you would call brainstorming on paper, where you go, this is what we're doing, and it really gives you it's
Yeah.
ownership, isn't it?
Right, right, for sure. And so that's the thing that happens. So if you can do 10 or 20 titles, you usually don't, it's usually not the first one. People
Right.
always think it's the first thing they come up with. Well, probably not. Somebody else probably already has that,
Absolutely.
and so you got to do a little research on that, figure
Yep.
out later on, but just do it as a working title. And as long as you have a working title, then you can start. I mean, it needs to have something to do with what you're writing about.
Right.
You don't want to say, whatever. I don't want to say, beginner's guide to
Yeah,
publishing
don't
and then write
settle.
about health, weight
Yeah.
loss. I mean,
No.
that doesn't make sense.
No.
But, as long as it has some kind of connection to what you want to write about or what
Sure.
you want to share with people, then that's the ticket. So
Sure.
do that. So write about what you know. Start there. You can always move to other stuff later on.
Yeah.
Like you say, if you don't feel like you have enough for a book or for that chapter, you can always interview somebody. You can find some quotes. You can maybe go and find some other tips from somebody else and say,
Right.
hey, there's so and so has a great, Will Roberts has a great 3-step process or keys to be selling better or selling more, or,
Sure.
whatever that happens to be. You can always bring those things in later.
Right.
Just get started.
One thing I tell you, two things that come into my mind about what number four tip is that when you talk about something is that this is that age old adage of people who can't do teach, and I gotta say that authors will think about. I mean, I used to kind of think that myself.
Right.
Well, if you really wanted to be an actor, why are you being an acting teacher? But some people are driven in a different way, obviously, and they
Right.
decide that they're going to do something, and they have a pearl of wisdom that they have, but they basically they want to express it. And being an author is I'll call it a Hollywood way of being an
Right.
educator or whatever the case may be. But the
Yeah.
other part about that is that, again, one of the things I used to do, and that's how I wrote the first book I wrote, which is a crackpot's
Right.
pot on American politics, was that I didn't necessarily come up with these ideas myself. I interviewed people. And I
Right.
started to notice that as I interviewed people, as they filled in some of the spaces that I felt like I was missing. And then I went, wait a second, my whole concept of the way the book is going is more on what they think going this way, as opposed to me going, here's what I think. So I love number
Right.
four. I think four is great.
Right.
Can I
Right.
can I
Great.
end something by saying? Can I
Mhm.
end by saying the segment by saying I'm going to switch over to another subject. You have a great process that you do helping authors become Amazon authors and so on, and I know that and I'm pushing you here, I'm kicking you in the behind, that you are really trying to move into the arena, which you already do, to consult, help people. Can we end by you saying what that is? Just a
Sure.
little
Well,
bit.
I've got a new e-newsletter that's basically called an author adventure, and it's the Publishing Posse, and it's free or paid. So basically, I post about 3 times a week related to writing,
Cool.
publishing, marketing, distribution, launching your book. And so you can go there. It's easy. It comes straight to your your inbox. You sign up, you subscribe. Once you're in, if you want to do a deeper dive, occasionally there'll be an article that'll be a little bit longer, or that might have 15 steps instead of just 7 steps or 2 steps. And if you want to do that, then you always can pay and subscribe and do a deeper dive. So
Wow.
that's something new that we're working on. And then moving in the direction of maybe helping other people publish. If you've always dreamed of helping other people, like you say, some people aren't necessarily the writer. They don't necessarily want to write the book themselves, but they really do want to help other people.
Sure.
They love the creative process. They love books. They love to read books. They love to go to the bookstores or whatever, and they love to find new authors or new things and help people. Maybe they have better administrative skills or production skills or sales skills rather than writing, and that's okay because there's a place for that. So we'll be looking into some of that stuff going forward in 2021 now, especially once people get out and about again a little bit more. We'll actually even do some in-person activity as well.
Liz Lawless,
That's my favorite.
Liz Lawless, our publishing posse. She is the head wrangler there. Thanks for coming on the show, and we will see you next time.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Will.
All right, folks, we're going to take a small break, and we'll be... I'm like itchy trigger finger today. Oh, you're muted. Hold on. I don't know why you're muted. Yeah, you're muted. Are you doing a little mime thing? Are you messing with me again?
I am. I'm messing with you.
Liz Lawless. By the way, RJ, we are gonna make sure that we get Liz Lawless's stuff, and I think she should have a lot more when she starts teaching and doing her instruction. And we're gonna get her to put it on Amazon Live. But
live. If only she knew some people who had like the in at Amazon Live.
I think she does. We're like,
oh yeah, that's right.
I'm
over here.
Yeah. Boy, what a great show today.
Hey, it was a great show today, Will. It was always a pleasure talking with you and talking with our guest, Christopher Lee Maness. A couple of great books. They're still down there. Scroll through if you haven't already purchased them. You should. But this was a really fun exploration into a different type of author that we've had. And it was great to experience that with you today, Will.
Yeah, I am really loving the fact that he put because honestly, when I first read about this book, I was thinking, man, what a subject. It's almost like writing Elephant. It's like writing Elephant Man, and it's like, would I read this? But then again, when it was put into the poetic sense, it was more, something I knew that when you talk about poetry, you're not gonna have 350 pages of one long story that you have to follow and connect together and read and visual. I love that you had him read. By the way, I love the fact that you had him read because having the author read it is kind of a real special thing. So that was awesome.
Well, you're welcome. It was a pleasure, Will. I hope you have a great and wonderful Wednesday. And we'll talk soon, right?
Yep. I'm not letting you go because we have 58. It's 58 minutes, and I want to hit the 1 hour mark. And so, with that being said, let us say that there are. Let us say that if you're interested in any of the
then it will be a minute and 48 seconds of this.
Yeah, but no. I want to say something is that we have some people and some things lined up that I think are going to be really cool very soon. Obviously more authors, but we're looking at other products and open box stuff that we're going to be doing again. We really kind of, this is 3 days a week we're doing this, dude. 3 days a week we're doing authors, and it is not stopping anytime soon. So if you're interested in getting on the show, we would love to connect with you. We're in our studios. I'm in Hollywood. He's in Vegas. And the fact of the matter is that we would love to have you on the show. Any other, what do you think the future? We're going to do some products. Anything else that I forgot?
I'm doing an entire Amazon Live series on the robot dance. So be sure to catch that. And then I'll be doing another whole series on DJ equipment because I scratch.
I do too.
I scratch.
I
So
really
yeah,
am hoping to buy
yeah.
some.
You scratch because of fleas though. So yeah.
I can get a product.
Anyway,
All right. Thank you for
yeah.
coming on the show. Appreciate everybody. Really do. And by the way, have a good day. Be safe, be well, and open a book and actually read it. So thanks a lot and hanging out with RJ.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye, everybody. We're out of here.